This is CBC Vancouver News.
Could it be the beginning of the end of Surrey's policing saga?
There is an offer on the table, and we think it meets the needs of the City of Surrey.
A final cash offer from the province to get the city to transition away from the RCMP. Plus, a CBC documentary censored in India.
So this is part of a pattern, and I'm not surprised at all.
YouTube is complying with demands from India to ban a Fifth Estate documentary about the killing of a Sikh activist in Surrey. Also, a BC man is charged with alleged sexual assaults of children dating back to the 90s in Ontario. Hi, I'm Tanya Fletcher. Thanks for joining us. Another chapter in the Surrey policing saga. The province is now making what it's calling a final offer to get the city to transition away from the RCMP to a municipal force. But as Mira Baines reports, it's unclear exactly how much money is on the table or what the deadline is for Surrey to respond.
Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth carried a plate of cookies to an NDP caucus meeting. There are now questions over how much the province is sweetening its offer to help Surrey move to a city police force. The BC government previously offered $150 million. Farnworth wouldn't reveal how much that offer is now, but did say it was final.
What I can tell you is they have a final offer. They have an offer on the table. We have been in discussions, and I think it works for the City of Surrey, and we hope they accept it.
Is there a deadline for when they have to accept? Deadline?
The province has required the city to continue with its transition to the Surrey Police Service. However, Mayor Brenda Locke wants to keep the RCMP and has challenged the provincial position in court. Locke said in a statement that she will not be sharing any details about her discussions with the province and is continuing with legal action. BC Conservative MLA Bruce Banman suggested in the Legislative Chamber that the province is offering an additional $110 million to the $150 million.
Surrey is now being asked to accept an additional payment of $110 million to make this NDP scandal go away.
He would not clarify where he got this information. The province and the city have a court date this week and a hearing for a judicial review into the BC government's decision on April 29th. Mira Baines, CBC News, Victoria.
YouTube has censored a CBC documentary at the request of the Indian government. The Fifth Estate investigated the alleged contract killing of Surrey Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. He was a proponent of an independent Sikh state and also considered a terrorist by the Modi government. Our Lindsay Duncombe shows us what's in the now blocked documentary and why many in the local Sikh community are not surprised by the ban.
A murder in Surrey, British Columbia, has sparked a diplomatic crisis between Canada and India.
This Fifth Estate documentary investigating the death of Hardeep Singh Nijjar is blocked on YouTube in India. Part of a pattern, says one of the documentary's subjects.
To us, it just shows the lengths that India is willing to go in order to kind of silence that dissent.
The investigation revealed exclusive CCTV video of the moment Nijjar was gunned down outside his Gurdwara in Surrey. Nijjar was an activist pushing for an independent Sikh state. The Indian government says he was a terrorist. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accused the Indian government of being involved in his death, an accusation India denies. No charges have been laid.
The video, it has been obtained by the Fifth Estate and as per reports by Canada-based CBC News.
The documentary made headlines in India. A spokesperson says CBC News stands by its journalism. YouTube tells CBC News the video was blocked under Section 69A of India's Information and Technology Act. It says action can be taken in the interest of the integrity, defense, or security of India. Last year, the Indian government took similar action over a BBC documentary. It examined the Indian Prime Minister's role in anti-Muslim violence 2 decades ago.
The Indian government has gotten pretty aggressive in taking advantage of its own laws to pressure social media companies to take down content it doesn't like, to target actual specific users and even have accounts blocked.
And that was the CBC's Lindsay Duncombe reporting. A BC man is facing charges in Ontario in connection with alleged sexual assaults of children dating back to the 1990s. Police say the assaults took place across various jurisdictions in southern Ontario. The CBC's Tyler Cheese has those details.
This is a composite sketch of the Woodland rapist, a man police have been looking for around 3 decades. And though they haven't confirmed a connection to that case, Peel Police confirmed today they have laid 20 criminal charges in an investigation dubbed Project Woodland.
We've arrested a male from British Columbia named Richard Neal. He was arrested and charged after a multi-jurisdictional investigation. Peel Police, Halton Regional Police, and Waterloo Police worked together.
Police say Neal has been charged with sexual assaults that occurred in Ontario between 1992 and 1995. They didn't share any additional information, saying a publication ban is in place to protect the victims. But court documents obtained by CBC News today confirm the charges include kidnapping and sexually assaulting a boy in Kitchener in August 1992, another boy in Brampton in September 1994, and a 15-year-old girl in Oakville in August 1995. Those dates line up with what CBC News has previously reported about the Woodland rapist case.
It's been over 30 years since this case has been open to close. It's fair to say that there could be many reasons as to why the arrest has happened.
Police would also not share what new information led to the arrest, but it comes at a time when advancements in DNA forensics are helping to solve cold cases like this one.
The way they would have approached this back then is you collect DNA from a crime scene, or in this case, a sexual assault victim, and that's a profile that's of unknown origin.
DNA researchers say it's becoming more and more common for decades-old cases to be solved as new technology is developed.
We're able to get more information from less DNA to the point now where we can literally sequence the entire human genome if need be. So police agencies, investigative agencies are realizing this is a brand new tool and it's incredibly powerful.
For the case at hand, police believe there may be more victims and are urging anyone with more information to contact them. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
A BC judge is warning the courts to look out for a flood of Indigenous identity fraud in criminal cases. This comes after a recent case where a man asked for special considerations in his sentencing due to his distant Métis heritage. Our Jason Proctor has been following this story, and he spoke with our Leanne Young about it earlier today.
What happened, first of all, in this case?
Okay, so you have this guy, Nathan Legault, who pled guilty basically to sending graphic images of himself to teenage girls that he met during the course of his interning as a pastor in other provinces. And so while he's awaiting sentencing, he learns that he has a great-great-grandparent who is Métis, and based on that, he self-identifies as Métis and asks for the special sentencing considerations that Canada's top court says are due to Indigenous offenders. And this is something the top court put in to sort of lower the incarceration rate by looking at sort of alternative means of sentencing more fit and appropriate to people who have the lived experience that they've had through the terrible things that have happened to Canada's Indigenous population. What the judge here said he's worried about is that this guy makes this claim based on nothing except a phone call and family lore, as the judge calls it. And so he says, you know, he's concerned that there needs to be some level of proof in terms of before judges that when somebody self-identifies as Indigenous, what actually is the bar in case there is identity fraud of people thinking that they can get something, a benefit here by self-identifying.
So in this case, then, was the judge actually able to determine if this former pastor, this Prince Rupert man, was he actually Indigenous?
No, that's actually, it's interesting. This is part of the whole thing. That's not the job for the judge. But what the judge says is, you know, basically in any other element of the criminal process, you have proof that's put forward. And experts I've talked to say as well, there is proof that can be given in terms of beyond a membership card or a family story, and that's what courts need to be looking at.
Okay, very interesting stuff. And of course, you know, this tsunami of possible fraud, I'm sure you'll be watching all of those cases come in. Thank you for that, Jason Proctor.
A Vancouver man just returned from Gaza after a week-long volunteer trip, dropping off much-needed medical supplies. And he spoke with the Early Edition from Egypt.
You could see the eyes of the medical worker there. Everybody, it's like I'm getting them a lottery or something. They've been waiting desperately for, because they are almost handcuffed, or they have no supply anymore.
He says he saw many patients suffering from serious burns and others who are severely malnourished. Well, Vancouver parents have rallied in support of a program for gifted students. It follows a decision by the Vancouver School Board to stop next year's enrollment for the University Transition Program.
It's a really great special needs program that's worth preserving, so I'm here to help fight for that.
My child was in a regular school, and she really struggled because of the unique way she learns, which is she's a neurodivergent child.
As a student, the UTP program provided me with a safe place where I could learn and be challenged together with a community of people that I connected with.
The program normally accepts 20 students a year between the ages of 13 and 15. They receive what's called an enriched academic course load in preparation for early entrance to university. Enrollment is now on hold pending a third-party review. Replacing ID cards, learning about pension plans, helping file taxes. Those are all the supports Vancouver's downtown east side population receives through a super clinic put on today by the Union Gospel Mission. As a CBC Saurabh Sandhu reports, for some, it's the only time of year they get this kind of help.
Lance Aaron Holly is at the Union Gospel Mission Super Clinic in Vancouver's downtown east side, hoping to replace his government ID.
I had my wallet stolen, so I have limited ID on me, and it's not government issued.
Haley has partial visual and hearing impairment, making the process even more challenging for him.
I usually do things on my own time.
Union Gospel Mission's Super Clinic is an opportunity for many like Holly to get help with the tasks that are otherwise difficult for them.
I expected it to be a long lineup today, but it was actually quite quick.
With the tax deadline approaching, others are getting help with filing their taxes.
I got my 8 years of taxes done. I have depression and insomnia, and I just never got it done. And then I came and got the whole thing done, boom, one shot.
Some people, they don't know actually how to go online and file the returns themselves, or maybe get caught up on their personal information. And so this super clinic here today is offering that in-person support.
The Union Gospel Mission teamed up with Service Canada, Veteran Affairs Canada, and Canada Revenue Agency for the one-day event, along with participation from BC's Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. It's all to help people access assistance with their Canada pension plans and raise awareness about other financial help.
These agencies are coming together so that people have access from the downtown east side, have access to hundreds, if not thousands, of government benefits and things that they might need in their day-to-day life that might even help some exit homelessness.
This is the third such event from Union Gospel Mission. Chu says the last one in November saw over 60 people access the services. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
BC is pledging $70 million to support wine producers following both record-breaking heat this summer and that devastating cold snap in January.
BC wines are second to none in the world. We've got amazing wines, and it is your innovation and your work as farmers, as producers, that has made that possible.
Premier David Eby says the new replant program will help producers remove damaged crops and then replace them with varieties that can better withstand the changing climate. The province is also setting up a BC wine grape sector task force. It'll focus on providing practical recommendations to producers on how to remain profitable and resilient. Another performing arts event is struggling to stay afloat in the city. The Vancouver Fringe Festival has launched an emergency fundraiser pleading for more cash. Its executive tells the early edition host Stephen Quinn that many festivals are grappling with inflation.
This is real for festivals, and it's a challenging moment for us. And that's why we're turning to our community and asking them to support us, because frankly, our expenses have gone up and our revenues have gone down as we're dealing with the same inflationary and affordability that everybody else is dealing with.
The Fringe Fest, which is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, says it's cutting back the 2024 edition by about 1/3. Still ahead, water can take all forms, solid, liquid, gas, but can we benefit from all of them? We look at how researchers are finding ways to collect water from fog. After the break, stay with us. And thank you for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. Formula racing is the pinnacle of motorsport in a world dominated by men. But an 18-year-old woman from Comox is consistently outpacing men on the Formula 3 circuit. As the CBC's Claire Palmer shows us, the racer wants to inspire other girls to get behind the wheel or under the hood.
Nicole Haverda is 18 years old and started racing cars on a track before she had her learner's permit to drive on city streets.
This is my 5th year, I think, and just like everything's gone kind of fast, actually.
As a kid, her parents brought her to an F1 Grand Prix in Austria. She didn't want to go at first, but then
I saw the atmosphere and stuff and just the sound of the cars and how, you know, the drivers are, and I just fell in love with everything about it.
Back home in Comox, she immediately got into go-kart racing and discovered a natural talent. Haverda became a national go-karting champion at 12 and raced GT for Mercedes at 14, before moving on to open-wheel formula cars at age 16, where she hits speeds of up to 250 kilometers an hour. One of her mentors is the Lynn St. James, one of just 9 women to race at the Indy 500.
She has a lot of potential, and I'm just hoping that she really makes and fulfills her potential, fulfills her dreams.
While she trains on the track in Texas, when she's here at home, she can be found in her simulator. Her parents say it's been nice to watch her career take off and pursue her love of racing.
It's really nice to watch her, how she races, and you know, her determination and the passion.
The girls, there's so few, and it's very nice to see it, nice to watch them. They are different, right? They have different passion, I guess.
For Haverda, the goal is clear, F1. But she still has several steps to go before she can hit the sport's top tracks. In the meantime, she wants to see girls get involved in all aspects of motorsports.
Everyone should look and be like, there's a woman in the garage fixing the car. That's super cool, right? We can do exactly what the men can do on the cars.
If you can see it, you can be it. But that is the case. And so the more women see other women doing it, like Nicole, the more Nicoles there are out there, the more successful Nicole is, the more women, young girls, are going to go, oh, maybe I can do this.
Haverda kicks off the 2024 season in April in the U.S., and she hopes next season to take her talents to the European F3 circuit and hopefully make the jump to F2. Claire Palmer, CBC News, Comox.
This week, we are continuing our in-depth look at drought and how it's impacting the way we live. Water shortage is a serious threat in many parts of the province, especially on the islands and in rural communities. Some researchers, though, have developed a way to collect water now from fog. Our Darius Madavi joins us now to explain how this works. And Darius, I guess the obvious first question, how do you drink fog?
When you put it like that, it sounds crazy, especially because most people think of fog as a gas, like the air. But really, fog is just extremely tiny droplets of liquid water. And we say the droplets are suspended in the air because they fall so slowly, it looks like they're not moving at all. Now, what does that mean? Well, first, if you're walking through fog, you could make the argument that you're swimming. I'm not going to, but I do hope to see a lively debate in the comments when this gets posted. But more importantly, it means there may be an untapped source of water. And as one expert told me, that can be even more important following major fire events, like the ones we know all too well here in BC.
When that foliage isn't there, then the structures to collect the fog aren't there. So one of the things we can do is set up structures that will allow that collection of water to occur, at least to some extent, to help regrowth of the forest. That's one example. The other is if we want to use the water for our own purposes, then by setting up our own mesh, we have a better way to be able to route it. Trees are great fog catchers, but they're dripping it onto the ground. And it's more difficult to establish a way to collect the water from trees for us to use.
So practically speaking, what does this entail? How do you actually capture the fog?
It's actually pretty straightforward. It just requires some investment in the basic infrastructure. You basically need some sturdy poles, some vertical mesh or netting, just typically made out of plastic nowadays, and then a collection and holding system. There's a lot of research being done actively into creating better materials to make those fog nets. But even the technology we have now and had a decade ago can be really efficient.
There's a village in Chile that once used fog collection technology for about 10 years. And that was a village of about 300 people. And they had, at their maximum, they had about 150 square meter mesh several kilometers above the village in an area that receives a lot of fog in the mountainous area above the village.
According to Fernandez, that setup was enough to provide water to the entire village for the full decade it operated, which definitely shows the promise of this solution. And he also mentioned the amount of water that you can get from this really comes down to the amount of netting you have and the size of it, and it can range anywhere from 1 liter per square meter per day to up to 20 liters. So it really could be a significant amount.
Sounds promising, no doubt, but how do we know if it will work here in BC specifically?
You really do just have to try it. There's a lot of variables at play here. And Fernandez had another great line. He said, not all fogs are created equal. The size of the droplets and how many there are really determine how much water that fog holds. But some parts of BC are definitely well suited for at least a trial run. You'd want to try this in places that A, have seen severe water shortages in recent years, B, get a ton of fog, and C, have that reliable foggy season happen when rain is scarce, which means at those times water shortages are most likely, fog could be an untapped and useful source. So I don't know about you, but when I hear those criteria, my mind immediately goes to remote places, especially on Vancouver Island and on its west coast. A former colleague of mine experienced one of those water shortages just last summer on Nootka Island, about 70 kilometers up the coast from Tofino, where there was a near complete lack of rain for months on end. She told me there was definitely times this technology would have come in handy.
We were facing a pretty big water shortage and had to employ lots of water conservation methods. However, as a lot of people may have heard, August is commonly referred to as Fogust, where that area has pretty dense and frequent fog. So this idea of fog capture is definitely something that could be used in these areas.
For places like Nootka Island, the idea of pulling water out of thin air is definitely an appealing one.
And no doubt, fascinating stuff. Thank you so much for this. That's science and climate specialist Darius Madavi. Here's a live shot of Harbour Centre, and the temperatures are gradually climbing up, really province-wide. Darius will return with a nearly summer-like 5-day forecast next.
When a call comes in about a wildfire, this is where it's answered. And we got a tour inside to see how Alberta Wildfire responds.
We have weather stations all across Alberta.
The Alberta wildfire season has already begun, earlier than ever before.
We've had 40 new wildfires start here in Alberta, and last year our number was 14. And they, by this point, had only burned 3 hectares of land. And so far, these 40 fires have now burned 300 hectares in Alberta. So that is why we are preparing.
This is what that looks like. Each map and graph and department working together.
We're not on edge, we're preparing. We're getting ready. And as you saw, when we went to visit the people in the fire weather office in the AWCC, we are just ensuring that we have all the information where we know where the fire danger is going to be elevated. We have additional crews. We've been told we have the resources that we need, and we're going to make sure that we're putting them in the right areas so that we're ready to respond when we need to.
After a dry winter, how severe this upcoming season will be hangs on spring rain. Even so, they say fires are inevitable. so they're building on the lessons learned from the record-breaking 2023.
We tend to see the most wildfire activity start up in May, and so this year we are anticipating being majority staffed up and ready to go by mid-April. We want to ensure that we have extra firefighters in place, we have extra crews trained, we have resources and aircraft, we have night vision helicopters. We're adding 2 to our fleet, and that gives us the ability to fight fire at night when the activity is lowest.
2.2 million hectares burned in Alberta last season. It's a massive number Alberta Wildfire doesn't want to repeat, and hopes preparation is the difference maker for the upcoming season. Emily Fitzpatrick, CBC News, Edmonton.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
Join CBC Vancouver's Benit Braich at the Alumni UBC webinar, Build the Future with Gen Z, April 3rd. A panel of Gen Z UBC students and alumni will share their views and experiences about their cohort's values and aspirations, approaches to work, and more. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter at cbc.ca/Vancouver inbox.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Our Darius Madavi is here with a very nice looking, I hope, still forecast.
Yes, not much has changed in the last few hours. Still sunny, still getting warmer right into the weekend, and there's really nothing but sun even in the more long-term forecast. So I hope you're ready for that. But that is all the case for the southern interior and slowly reaching up into the northern interior as well. Meanwhile, if you're up in the northwest, we do have a bit of activity still to come. Some blizzard-like conditions on some of those major roads, and we have some pretty high buildup of snow on some of those higher elevations. So a little bit more snowpack added there. Unlike the rest of the province, where it doesn't look like we're going to be getting much more anytime soon, those freezing levels shooting up by the end of this week, up to 3,000 meters, not just on the coast, but throughout the BC interior as well, southern interior as well. And then if we take a look over here, you can see that strong wind also coming in, creating those blizzard-like conditions, or blizzard conditions, not blizzard-like, up in the interior, up on the coast up there, in the northwestern parts of the province. There we go. If you take a look at the temperatures across the province, we are going to see those continue to climb over the next few days, especially in the south. But for one day, a little bit of a bump up here as well, up by Fort Nelson, Fort St. John. That is expected to fall again as we get into Friday. But for the rest of the province, those high temperatures sticking around for a while and continuing to build as we get into the weekend. Not just the highs, but the lows as well. Also expected to continue to build up 4 or 5 degrees warmer for much of the southern interior in terms of those lows, and up onto the coast over the next few days. So warmer nights as well as warmer days. Plenty of sunshine still on the way, with the exception for the island of Port Hardy, which we're not showing here. But there we may still see a little bit of rain tonight and tomorrow, but again, clearing up as we get into the weekend. And beyond that, lots of sunshine on the way. Even this, I would say, overstates the amount of cloud pretty much everywhere, clearing up in the south into tomorrow morning. So lots of sunshine still on the way. And if we take a look here, you can see I've re-added those inland numbers because, again, for inland parts of Metro Vancouver, we're going to see those higher temperatures, 5 or 6 degrees warmer. But beyond that, very consistent, lots of sun.
Yeah, certainly a change from what we've been used to the past couple of weeks. Thanks so much, Darius.
Thanks, Tanya.
And that is your late news for this Wednesday, March 13th. Thank you so much for joining us for News Anytime, Anywhere. You can download the free CBC News app. You can always find us online at cbc.ca/BC. Have a great night.